So MCP has been taking the AI world by storm. So in this video, I'm going to break it down in as simple as possible terms. So regardless of your background, you will have a full understanding of what this thing is, why this could have the potential to change the way we interact with our AI agents. And then I'm going to show you a few demos of how it works. And then I'm going to do a simple step-by-step tutorial on how to connect a few of these MCP servers to your AI agents. So that way you have a full understanding of the entire concept and how it works. So without any further delay, let's jump right into the video. All right, so a bit of a background. MCP is not a new concept. This was released November 25th of 2024 by Anthropic. So the way they mentioned that this is a way for AI assistants to connect to different systems where the data lives, including the different content repositories and different APIs and tools. Again, don't worry about that. I'm going to explain this in very detail in a little bit. But basically, to give you an idea that this is done by Anthropic, this is not something new. This has been around, but the only thing is recently it has picked up a huge momentum. So that's why everybody's talking about it. All right, so let's go ahead and quickly go through what MCP is. I'm going to give a quick definition and a few examples, and then we're going to come back and go through the different demos to see exactly what this is used for and why this is so different compared to your previous tools that you had attachment in your AI agents within n8n. All right, so simply put, MCP is like giving your AI a universal key that basically gives it access to different components, different tools, different data resources, APIs, and everything else that before required a manual connection now can be accessed in a very flexible and a useful way through this protocol. Now, when it comes to the context of AI agents, this could be a game changer because again, this standardizes the way agents can have access and interact with external data resources. And if that's a little confusing, don't worry, I'm going to go and explain through the different examples in our n8n AI agents so that we have a full understanding. But this was just kind of a little overview. Now, what this all means when it comes to AI agents or the world of AI agents, that this will give your AI agents the ability to scale. So that's where we're going to now jump into our n8n, and I'm going to point exactly how this is different compared to the current integration that the n8n AI agents have, and why this could change the way we interact with our data and different external API tools and external resources. All right, so I have these two example MCP servers that I'm going to do a demo of, and then I'm going to show you exactly what's happening and why this is different compared to the AI agents that we have built before. And again, like I mentioned before, I'm also going to do a step-by-step walkthrough of how to connect these different MCP servers to your AI agents. All right, so let's take a look at the Firecrawl MCP first. So for those of you who don't know what Firecrawl is, so let me go ahead to their website so that we can see what they have. It's actually one of the most popular tools out there. So again, it's a scraping website and it turns any website data into LLM ready data, essentially. Again, that's what putting it in simple terms, but it gives you really clean data so that way you can easily interact with your large language models, specifically when it comes to AI agents if you're building that. So that's what Firecrawl is. So this Firecrawl MCP server is that I've connected right here. This will give you access to all the Firecrawl resources and tools that are available without the need for us to individually connect to it. So this is what I'm talking about. Hold on 1 second. Let me zoom in here so that way you see. A little too big. All right. So the first thing I'm going to ask it is provide a list of tools, right? So that way we can see exactly what's happening here. So I'm going to say, what tools do you have? Or whatever. So now it's going to reach out to OpenAI and it's going to hit this Firecrawl list tools. And this is going to list the different tools that's available within this Firecrawl MCP server, right? So if I now go up here, so these are all the different tools that it has access to: the Firecrawl Escape, the Firecrawl Map, and then a bunch of other stuff in there as well. So let me go ahead and take a look at inside this MCP here. So if I go to the table view, so this is all of the different tools that it has access to. And again, as you can imagine, if we wanted to get access to these different tools before, we would have to actually individually connect it via the HTTP request node, because our HTTP request tools, because obviously, and then let's say if they don't have a native connection or a native integration with an app, then you would have to individually connect all these different tools within Firecrawl and give it like prompt, so that way it knows exactly when to reach out to this particular tool for whatever purpose you're providing. But in this scenario, all we're doing is we're connecting our MCP server to Firecrawl, and we're telling it to list the tools. And again, I'm not giving this AI agent any kind of prompt at all, right? So this has the ability to directly reach out to these particular Firecrawl list tools, and it's going to provide us all of the different tools that it has availability to. So now what we're going to do, we're going to have it scrape a particular website, and as you can see, like I mentioned before, there is no prompt here. So it has the ability to reach out and have access to all these tools within the Firecrawl list tools, and then it's going to execute the correct tool based on the query that we're providing it. So for example, let's take a look at, so I'm just going to say scrape, let's say a website. Actually, I'm just going to use my own. So let's say I'm going to scrape my own website. So I'm going to say scrape aiworkshop.me. If I press enter, now it's going to again reach out to the tools to see which tools it has access to. And then based on that, it's going to reach out to this execute tool, this MCP execute tool, and it's going to use the proper tool it needs to provide the solution or to provide the response for the query that the user is providing it. And there you go, the node executed successfully. So as you can see right here, it says, here's a summary of the content found on the homepage of aiworkshop.me. As you can see, it's scraped it properly, the visual content and all of the different, information that's available within that tool or within that website. So now let's go ahead and take a look at what happened here. So same thing. First, it listed out all of these different tools, right, that it has access to. Now this execute tool then used the proper tool, and in this case, it used the Firecrawl scrape tool to grab all of this information from the website without us needing to provide this AI agent the prompt to tell it, hey, use this tool for this purpose, or you use this tool for this purpose, right? And the way to see this actually, a good example would be, so if I were to go, because I did, let me actually open up a new workflow here. So if I go to, let me pull up the calendar agent, so that way you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So now if I go back here to my new workflow, let's import this. All right, so I brought in this calendar agent that I had built before, and this was part of the kind of the AI agent army that I built. But essentially what's happening here is that this calendar agent, this main agent, has access to all these different tools within the Google Calendar, right? So I have to separately put the tool for updating an event, deleting an event, getting an event, creating a new event, and creating a new event with an attendee. And inside this AI agent, I need to give this a system prompt. I mean, this is a very short system prompt, but you can see here, I'm telling it to use which tool for which purpose, right? So now what's happening here is that I'm giving this individual connections for each different event or for each different action. What the MCP is doing here is completely replacing adding these separate actions manually by just giving it this list tools. So what this is doing is now, as we saw earlier, let me go inside. There you go. All of these different tools that are inside. So for example, it has access to, let's see, 8 tools, right? So you can imagine that, for example, Firecrawl map, Firecrawl right here, crawl, Firecrawl batch scrape, Firecrawl check batch data, Firecrawl search, and all of these different particular tools, we would have, if we were to build this all the way, we would have to have those 8 individual tools, just like we built here, right? We would have to attach it as 8 separate tools. What this MCP server list is doing is it is listing all the tools that it has available, and then based on the query that the user is asking it, it's going to execute the correct tool based on that information that it is getting from the user, right? So in this particular case, I've used this from AI tools to make sure that it's reaching out to the correct tool inside the list tool MCP server earlier to execute and provide the information that the user is requesting. Again, hopefully that wasn't too confusing, but you can imagine that these 2 different MCP tools are now replacing all these individual tools that would have to attach manually, and inside each one we would have to go and define exactly the different parameters. We would have to go inside the AI agent then and define exactly when to use these tools that it has access to. So you can imagine if you're building an AI agent at scale, this could be a lot of manual work. So what this is doing is eliminating the need to have separate AI agents, separate parameter setups, separate prompting for each individual AI agent and the tools that it has access to. It replaces all of that with this two MCP server tools, so the list tool and then also the execute. And you can imagine this could be applied to several different operations within the same AI agent, right? So you can imagine this becomes very, very easy at scale because now you're no longer required to go to these separate agents and have these separate tools that you're attaching to. But now you have a standard way that you're communicating, in a standard way that you're reaching out to different tools and different executing commands based on the query that the user is providing. And again, this is kind of like a very simple demo of this, a simple version of this. We'll be obviously building more useful AI agents in the future that would have access to multiple different MCP servers, and then we can provide that short prompt to tell it, hey, for this particular use case, you need to reach out to this. But for now, again, I'm not using any kind of prompt. That's the only system prompt it has, is that you're a helpful assistant, and it's determining based on the query that the user is asking to reach out to a particular tool, to reach out to the different tools and execute the command properly. So that's kind of the fire call example. So same thing, the Brave search works exactly the same way based on the query. So let's go ahead and test that out. So now I'm gonna go right here. All right, so now let's test this out. So now I'm gonna say, this time it's connected to the Brave search tool. So I'm gonna say the same thing. What tools do you have access to? All right, so now it's gonna reach out to the Brave list tools, and now it's going to provide us the tools that it has access to, as you can see. So now this particular MCP server has access to only two tools, the Brave web search and then the Brave local search. And again, this is coming from the Brave MCP itself. So depending on what tools that they give you the access to, that it has available access to, then it will provide that list to us. So now let's go ahead and say, what is the latest news related to OpenAI, right? And perfect, there you go, right? So it reached out to the execute tool and it brought the latest news related to OpenAI. So as you can see, it's working properly just based on these two MCP client tools that it has availability. All right, so that was kind of like a quick demo. Now let's go ahead and walk through step by step, and I'm going to show you how to connect these different MCP servers to your n8n AI agents. One of the tricky part is right now, as of right now, this is only available on local hosted because it is only a community server. So all of this that you're seeing, this MCP tool is actually a community node. Therefore, you need to make sure you are in your local hosted version. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, again, depending on which local hosted version you're in, so if you're using NPM or if you're using Docker, that requirement will change. And I'm going to put the link in the description of this video as far as what different commands you need to input to make sure you have access to. But I'm using the simplest version, which is using the NPM. And if you haven't seen my video, make sure you watch the tutorial that I did on how to connect your or run n8n locally on your machine through npm, because that's a step-by-step tutorial. But anyway, so I have that set up already. So once you come in, log into your account, to your local hosted network, as you can see right now, it says localhost 5678. So you're going to head over to your settings, click on settings right here. You're going to go to community nodes and you're going to search for n8n nodes MCP and install that. So the way to do that, so if I just go back to my community here, so for those of you who are part of the community, I have put this right here. All of the resources and everything is available, so that way you can easily go to these different documentation, the different resources, and then also the codes and credential setups are there as well. But anyway, so you're gonna head over to your resources here. So right here under resources, the second one says MCP n8n community nodes. If you click on this link, so this will take you to this node details for this particular community node that these people, that I can't remember who did this. I think there's 3 contributors, but they've set up this really nice guide, so that way it shows you exactly what to do. So go ahead and take a look at the guide. But essentially the easiest way to do this is you will go to your settings. Oops. So yeah, settings, community nodes, you're going to click on install. You're going to search for n8n nodes MCP. You're going to click on understand the risks of installing unverified code, blah, blah, blah. You're going to click on install, and this will install. The reason why it's showing the error is because I've already installed mine. But you'll just click on install, and this will get installed, and you'll see this n8n nodes-MCP under your community nodes. So once you do that, then you'll come back to your workflow. So let's go ahead and create one from scratch. So same thing, you need to add some kind of a trigger, but I'm just going to directly go to an AI agent. So if I just search for AI agent, there you go. So now we need to give this a chat model. I'm going to use my OpenAI. All right. And then, so now we don't need to worry about memory. So you need to click on tools here. And now you need to search for MCP. And if you've installed the node correctly, this MCP client tool will show up here. Now, one very important thing, if this doesn't show up here, it means that you need to install, depending on whether you're using the self-hosted version via Docker or via npm, you need to make sure that you're enabling the tool usage here. And the way to do that is that all you have to do is scroll down to the bottom here, and you're going to, again, this is depending on their use case, it gives you the exact example. So if you're using, because I'm using npm, so I'm just going to use this. All you have to do is just copy this and then paste it on your terminal, and then press enter, and this will essentially restart the n8n, and it will give you the access to this particular MCP client tool. Okay, so if this doesn't show up, it means that you need to go ahead and do that command. And again, if you're using Docker, then make sure you're following the Docker setup. But anyways, all right, so I'm going to click on MCP client tool here, and now this is going to pull up. Let me make this a little bigger. All right, so this is going to pull up this MCP client. So the first thing we need to do is we need to add our credentials. So we're going to go ahead and add our firewall credentials. So you need to click, you need to click on the drop down here. So these will be the different credentials and the different MCP servers that you have connection with. All of them will be listed here. So what you need to do is click on create new credentials. And this credential setup is a little bit different compared to your normal setups. So what you need to do is you need to provide the command, the arguments, and environments for this particular setup. Use the command line versus the server sent event, because this is a bit more complicated. So just use this one. And what you need to do is you need to go to each individual MCP server that you're looking to connect with. So you're going to head over. So for example, if I'm looking to connect to the Firecrawl, so I'm going to go to that Firecrawl MCP server right here. And this will provide all the different information and the different guides that you need in order to connect to this particular Firecrawl server. So again, there's a lot of servers. So if I go back here, let me show you exactly. So if I click on MCP servers, so these are all the different servers that you can currently connect to. I mean, there's already a bunch here. I mean, there's like a bunch from community servers. There's already ones for the official integrations, the third-party ones. So the reference servers, this is the one that the Brave Search, and then also the Firecrawl one is right here. So if I go down, where'd it go? Right here. So that's what I essentially clicked in, right? So instead of coming through and clicking this here, I just basically directly clicked to this one, and it brought me to the guide for this particular MCP server for Firecrawl. So here it gives you all the guides, but don't worry about this. I made it very, very simple. So all you have to do is now just copy the command, argument, and environment. And what that is in the bottom here. If I go to Firecrawl MCP credential setup, so the command is going to be npx. So you're going to come back and paste it. Let me get rid of this now. You're going to paste it, npx. The argument is going to be -y Firecrawl. Oops. Go back. I didn't copy it properly. Copy Firecrawl MCP. And now for the environment, this is where you need to actually put your API key. So if I go right here, as you can see, environment variable, it says Firecrawl API equals your API key. So if I just copy this, and if you toggle to expressions, then you'll be able to see exactly what you're typing. So you're going to get rid of this. You're going to head over to your MCP dev. So I put a link in here, Firecrawl API, yep, right there. So you're going to click on that link. This will take you directly to the dev portal where you can create a free API key. Again, Firecrawl and Brave, they both provide free tiers, so you don't have to worry about paying anything. You'll just create an API key, and then you'll come back and paste your API key right here. And then you're going to click on save, and you should be good to go. So I'm just going to get rid of it because I've already have a connection. So that's how to connect your Firecrawl credentials. Now, same thing with your Brave Search. So Brave Search is the same thing. You're going to click on your Brave Search API. So here, same thing, they'll provide you a free tier. So create an API key and you'll come back. And as far as the credentials here, you're gonna, the command is gonna be npx. The argument is going to be this. If I go right here, it's going to be this, npx. And as far as your API, the environment available, it's the same thing. You're gonna do Brave API key, and then you're gonna paste in your API key right here. Click on save, and now you will be able to be all set up. So that's how to get your credentials. Once you do set up your credentials, so the first tool that you're going to connect is the operation is going to be list tool. Obviously that has several operations, but for now don't pay attention to anything else. We're just going to only look at the list tools and then also the execution tool. So the first one is going to be the list tool. For every specific MCP client that we're adding to our AI agents, we need to be able to see exactly which tool it has access to. So that's why the first operation is going to be the list tool. The second one is going to be an execute one. So same thing, you're going to search for MCP, bring in your MCP client tool, make sure you're selecting the proper credentials here. And then this time, this is going to be the execute tool, right? So now the way this is going to work is that you need to provide a tool name for this particular one because it needs to know which tool to use. However, the reason why earlier and I showed you in the demo is that we could pull this dynamically is, again, we're going to use our good old friend from AI function, right? So if I go down here and just copy, so you're going to put in this command and both of your tool name. So if I just switch to expression, paste this, there you go. That's all you need to do, right? You need to have this from AI tool, selected tool to execute. Very, very simple. The tool parameter, same thing. You're going to go to expression and you're going to click on this little 3-star because this is going to define this automatically by the model. That's pretty much it. So that's the same process for all of your MCP servers or all of your MCP clients that you would attach as a tool to your AI agents. Same thing, you attach your credentials. The first is going to be the list tool operation, and the second is going to be your execute tool, right? So, and again, it's always a good habit to name these. So this one is going to be firecrawl list, okay? And this is going to be firecrawl execute, or whatever makes sense for you. So firecrawl execute. Rename, boom, and we're good now. So let's go ahead, and now you're pretty much done at this point. So let's go ahead and test this thing out. Click on open chat now, and now we're going to say, what tools do you have? Let's just put that. There you go. Now it's going to reach out to the firecrawl list tool, and it's going to list all the different tools that it has access to, and perfect. You can see it has 9 different tools that it has access to, and now you can same thing, use this or scrape whatever, you know. So let me go back. So now I'm gonna say scrape this, and I'm not gonna provide any other information. So now it should reach out to the tool. It should use the proper tool and execute that tool to give us the information that we requested. So there you go. Now it's reaching back out to the firecrawl execute tool. So hopefully this will execute. Sometimes it kind of goes back and forth several times, depending on if it runs into kind of error or if something doesn't make any sense, it will reach back out to it. And there you go, perfect, right? It did, it scraped our proper website information and retrieved it and provided it to us. All right, so now let's go ahead inside our firecrawl list tool and see what happened here. So same thing, it lists all the different tools that are available. This is the name of the tool. This is the description, because this tells it exactly when to use this tool. And these are the different schema that it needs access to in order to perform whatever the requested searches or whatever the requested query is. So now inside our execute tool, again, same thing. Now this is green, which means that it grabbed it dynamically, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at the runs. The first run, some kind of it failed. It said failed to scrape URL status code 400. So it tried again, and this time it was successful because it reached out to this firecrawl scrape tool because of this dynamic value that provided, and it used the URL that we gave it in our query, and it did the function properly, scraped the information, provided everything back to us. Again, super useful. As you can imagine, this eliminates the need for us to add individual tools. It just makes it a lot easier to scale the AI agents, because now we have the ability to essentially use these servers and give that function, ship that function to these MCP servers rather than us manually creating these different individual connections, right? So now that's what the beauty of this MCP server is, and that's why it's such a huge potential when it comes to changing the way the AI agents will reach out to different data sources or APIs. Because before, even if it didn't have a native integration, we would have to use this HTTP request tool to put all these API credentials, API parameters to reach out to different tools because of the fact that it had no integration with n8n. But now, as you can imagine, all of that is being shipped off, all of that functionality is being shipped off to the MCP server. All we need to do is make sure that we're putting that dynamic value, and based on the query, it will reach out to the proper tool and grab that information without the need for us to do any kind of manual connections. Alright, I know it's a long video, but hopefully that makes sense. Obviously, all of these resources are available at this section, so that way you can take a look at the different guides. I put some useful documentation for you to take a look at and go through, so make sure you are looking at those different resources if you want to do a bit of deeper dive. Obviously, in the future, I'll be doing more videos on this, because as this space evolves, I'm sure these MCP servers are going to become more and more powerful, and therefore the AI agents are going to become more and more robust. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll put the links in the description. Hopefully I'll see you in the school. We'll probably have more discussions around it. If not, thanks for watching again. I'll see you in the next one.